Why Amazon destroys MacBooks and iPads. Let's talk about that. I'm iCav Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, you should like this video, subscribe to the channel, that's the important bit, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. And we've got a lot to talk about in today's show. We have the Amazon thing, we've got Apple going after a content creator out in the Netherlands, and we talked about Apple opening the most beautiful Apple store in the world recently. They've just beaten it. Let's get into it. So here in the UK, iTV, not Apple TV, and also the reason that Apple TV is called Apple TV and not iTV, the news network, spoke to an ex-Amazon employee about how ridiculous amounts of unsold stock is destroyed every year. Around 130,000 items per week are organised into boxes and marked destroy. While Amazon does donate some unsold stock, it's a drop in the ocean compared to what is simply disposed of. Amazon says that the amount of stock destroyed is extremely small, but this has to be put into context of the massive amounts of products that they ship every week. Now, a lot of people are asking why the stock isn't just discounted and sold, and that's because most of the stock in these depots is not actually owned by Amazon. It's part of the Fulfilled by Amazon program, which basically means it is owned by the individual stockholders, the individual sellers on Amazon. However, it's stored in Amazon's warehouses so that it can be shipped quickly, and Amazon charges a fee to store it there. So if a product isn't selling well, the seller can reclaim it, but they have to pay a certain amount to reclaim it from those warehouses and get it shipped back to them. However, in most cases, it is cheaper to just have Amazon dispose of it. And it's very sad, but it does kind of make sense, although I'd love to see Amazon have a better way of dealing with this. Leave your thoughts down in the comments, and F in the comments for all the dead Apple tech. Onto Apple's most beautiful new Apple Store. Yesterday, Apple previewed its newest retail location at the historic Tower Theatre in downtown Los Angeles. It's one of Apple's most significant restoration projects to date. Apple Tower Theatre aims to inspire even more creativity in the heart of downtown. Apple will also launch today the Apple Creative Studios, a global initiative that will provide hands-on experience and mentorship to young creatives, kicking off with the opening of the new store in Los Angeles. Based on the images, it is a sympathetic restoration, and what I love about some of these Apple stores is that these buildings would often not survive without a company like Apple coming to the rescue. So it is sad that it's not being used as a theatre anymore, but it's also pretty cool that a lot of people that wouldn't have even gone to the theatre are now able to wander in and out and see how beautiful it is. Content creator gets a slap on the wrists from Apple. Dutch creator Jermaine, at C Content Creator, who collaborated with Jon Prosser on the AirPods Max renders, has been contacted by Apple's lawyers demanding that they stop working on unreleased products. Now, last year, images of the headphones came to Jon Prosser via a source, and in order to protect that source, Jon passed these images on to Content Creator to Jermaine, who then created a render so that any context from the images, any metadata, any background images that could potentially identify and compromise the source wouldn't be shared with the public. In the end, the renders produced were very accurate in their overall shape and design, but they were missing the digital crown and the button, as these appear to have been added later after Apple abandoned the touch surfaces. It looked like they were going to have touch control surfaces on the outside of the ear cups, but I believe there were some manufacturing issues, which is part of the reason they were delayed, and they went to using the digital crown and button instead. Now, it's thought that Apple has targeted this creator because of the less powerful freedom of the press laws in their country compared to the US, and it shows that Apple is certainly not that happy about the leaks that are coming out. Now, I'm not sure if this is a great look for Apple. I understand that they definitely want to protect their products and have the surprise and wow factor when they're released at their events. There's also no way that Apple would go after one of these, contact them ahead of time, and sort of say you can't do this, because that would basically confirm that the leak is accurate. But Apple also certainly benefits from the enthusiasm and the hunger of the community wanting to see these products before they're released, wanting to see what's going to be coming next. And Apple does get an ungodly amount of free coverage for their products as a result of this. It also helps to build the excitement ahead of launches because of this community. So what's the right solution? Do you think that Apple is in the right here? They certainly have the right to defend their intellectual property and to release it in a way that they want to release it, show it in the best possible light when it first comes out, but does the excitement and free publicity outweigh the benefit of the secrecy? In fairness to Apple themselves, they've basically just said, please stop in this case, but there's certainly an implicit or possibly explicit, we've not seen the letter, or else here. So it's a little bit distasteful, but I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments section. And next we're going to get into iCave Answers, starting off with Kevin Slegg. Hashtag iCave Answers, is there any more information about Apple bringing out a more consumer-oriented display, i.e. one in the $750 to $1,000 or pound price range? It's just with lots of people still working from home, there's perhaps more people wanting a second display, plus the Mac Mini seems to be becoming more popular. However, the current XDR Pro display, starting at £4,600 plus £900 for a display, is probably too pricey for most. Surely Apple are missing out on an opportunity here. Yep, there's certainly been rumours about this, and in most cases when Apple releases a new consumer-centric display, it tends to be using the display panels from their larger iMac, and obviously we haven't seen the replacement larger iMac just yet. The previous one was the Thunderbolt display, and prior to that, the Cinema display. I think all they did was change the connectivity on that one. But the Thunderbolt display used the 27-inch panel when it was a 2640 by 1440 display, I believe it was, from the original iMacs, from the 27-inch iMacs. What they didn't do was update it when the 5K displays came out, and that was purely because there were no cables that you could send a 5K signal over that would look any good, because of the amount of compression that it would need. Apple basically, for the 5K iMacs, had to deal with the display as two individual panels and design their own timing controller in order to make the two sides of the panel not kind of go out of sync. So it was not a simple build for them. So it wasn't something that they could just slap into a display housing and then have a single display cable that they were able to drive it through. Now, they had a similar issue way back in the past with the 30-inch Apple Cinema display, which only had the 2560 by 1440 display in it, but at the time you couldn't get that amount of data over a single cable either, so they had to basically do a dual link display cable which used two DVI connectors. So that is probably the biggest issue here. I would think that Apple can now do it using USB-C or Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4, whichever one it is now. But yes, expect it around the same time as the larger iMacs. And Eva H, we have a list again. Let's go. iCave Answers, number 1. What do you think Apple's endgame is with the iPod Touch? As I think at this point, most people just have iPhones if they want to listen to music, play games, FaceTime, iMessage with someone, and so forth. I completely agree with you, and to be honest, the iPod Touch is not really a great value compared to a hand-me-down iPhone for most people, or a used iPhone, something along those lines. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. I think Apple would love to have something in that category, in that kind of $200 price point. But I also think that, like, the base iPad at $329 with a much bigger display is a better option for most people for most of these things. Obviously, it's not pocketable, but then you can also get an Apple Watch for $200, which you can put some music on, and you can have that on your AirPods. So it's a really tricky one. There may be one more, and I do think that if they do it, it's going to be to focus on things like spatial audio and possibly lossless if they keep a headphone jack on it. What products do you think that Apple will drop by the end of the year, just to trim the fat, so to speak? Yeah, so Apple have done quite a lot of culling of their range, if you like, killing the original HomePod. That was purely due to super low sales. They've killed the iMac Pro, which we don't know if that's to replace it with a new iMac Pro, although typically they wouldn't kind of kill it first. They would just wait until the new one's ready and then change. And this is what confuses me as well about everyone that's like, oh, they've definitely got a new HomePod big on the way because that's what people want. People obviously don't want it because they didn't sell any. Like, they killed it this year, and they were still selling the stock from 2017 when it was first built. You know, the packaging and everything inside still says 2017 because that's when these were produced. When you look at the the details when you plug it in, when you look at the production date, they were made in 2017. They only ever did one production run of these things. It did not do anywhere near as well as Apple expected. Now, in terms of other stuff that they'll do to trim the fat, I think it's mainly going to be the Intel Macs that go away. They might just find their way into refurbished, but that'll be about it. I don't think there's many other products that they need to drop at this point. And question 3, do you think Apple will do a special 10th anniversary memorial for Steve? We are coming up on the 10th anniversary of Steve Jobs passing, so 2011 he passed, so it is this year. I would think that Apple will mark it somehow. I don't think they'll do like an event to memorialise it, perhaps. However, I do think that Apple will certainly do something. For many years, they were putting up on the homepage of Apple like a memorial to Steve there. I'd love to see them bring something like the Here's the Crazy Ones back. I think that would be a really interesting thing for them to do, like some kind of commercial using that. But also, I think the most likely thing that they would do is like an education fund maybe for Steve, because Steve was like huge in the education market. That was a massive thing for Steve to get people to be used to it. So maybe either like an education fund or some kind of coding academy that is kind of the Steve Jobs memorial kind of thing. Obviously, they've got the Steve Jobs Theatre on Apple Park, which is a big memorial to him as well. But that would be the sort of thing I would expect them to do. But I think bring back the Here's to the Crazy Ones that he narrated. Because although they used someone else for the adverts, they did also record Steve reading Here's to the Crazy Ones.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes.
If you've got a question that you'd like me to answer, #iCaveAnswers down in the comments section. I'll answer it in a future video. And thank you so much for watching.